In this tutorial, we will cover up this. As you can see, we can move left and right. Okay, we can move left and right. So let's dive into this topic without furthering delay. Okay, so let's go. So I have over here empty scene, as you can see. Okay, so I'm gonna put a link in the description of all of this sprite that I am going to use it in this tutorial. Okay, so firstly I'm gonna drag the player sprite into the scene view. I'm gonna select the ideal one and let's drag it to the scene view. Okay, or hierarchy you can drag it, but as you can notice that it's pretty small, we barely able to see that. Okay, to make it bigger, select that sprite. I'm gonna select all of them by holding down shift. Okay, and select all of them, go over to inspector in the right. Okay, go over to that and make pixel per unit less number. Okay, pixel per unit less number and click on apply. So as you can see, it's now became big, but the problem is that it's still looking blurry. To get rid of that, what we have to do, go over to inspector one more time. Over there, as you can see, filter mode, select point no filter. Okay, and click on apply one more time, and now we are done. As you can see, the blurry has been the blurry has gone. So I'm gonna select this player game object. Let's rename this. So go over to inspector. Over here we can rename this, or you can right click on it. Okay, sorry, player, let's call it player. Let's add some component. Firstly, what we will add up, we will add up gravity. Okay, to add up gravity, so it will fall down. Now if I hit this play button, the player character will be over there, and it's still look kind of weird, I guess. So what we have to do, so just wait for to compile, and it will not fall down because we haven't added any rigid body component for gravity, as you can see. Okay, so let's add them up. So firstly I'm gonna add the rigid body. So select the player game object, click on add component, and find over there rigid body 2D. Now it's added up. I'm gonna scale the gravity a little bit up. So I'm gonna choose gravity scale, so it will increase the gravity intensity. Okay, and I'm gonna select this collision detection to continuous, so it will continuously detect the collision. Okay, and one thing we have to do, we have to freeze the rotation about z-axis. If I don't do that and select the player game object and go over to rotation and z-axis, and play around with z-axis, as you can notice that the player just getting flipped. So I'm gonna set this one back to 0, and let's freeze the rotation about z-axis, so it will not freeze rotate like that as you've seen. Okay, so let's click on that, and we also need to add up collider to this game object. Okay, player game object, so it will fall down onto the our tile map or the ground, you can say. Okay, so click on add component, find over there box collider 2D, and edit the collider as the size of the sprite. Okay, so click on edit collider and edit the collider as the size of the sprite, something like this. Okay, I'm gonna have in the description link of this sprite. You can go ahead and check them out. So I'm gonna move this up, so just adjust. And now if I hit this play button, okay, if I hit this play button, it will fall down due to gravity, and we need to implement the movement of our player game object. Okay, so just wait, and as you can see, its gates fall down due to gravity. We added rigid body, which is responsible for rigid gravity, we know. Okay, so let's create a custom let's create movement. Okay, so we need to create script. Basically script tell us what player to do. Okay, so go over to assets first, right click on it, create shop script, name it to something like player or player movement. Okay, and select this player game object and attach, drag that script to add component section over here. So I already created, so I'm gonna drag the script right there to add component section. Okay, and double click that to open up in Visual Studio. okay, your preferred code editor, it's up to you. So first thing what we need to move this character, okay, left and right. So what we will do, we will use this input, okay, input dot get axis, and you can pass the axis in which axis you want to move the player. So in our case we want to move the player in the x-axis, so basically horizontally. So what we gonna do over there, we will in quotation we have to pass the axis name. So we need to pass as the over here, which is horizontal. Okay, make sure you spelling it correctly, else it will not gonna work. Okay, and close that off with semicolon. So input dot get axis horizontal over here, it just map up with your keyboard A and D key. So let's suppose you hold down A key, so input dot get axis horizontal will return you or give you -1. Else if you hold down D key, so it will give you 1. Okay, so and if you don't hold down any keys like A or D key, so this input dot get axis horizontal will give you 0. Okay, so what we will do, we will store the result into a variable. So we know variable are just like container, as something like container, we can put values right there. Okay, so in case we will create a float variable, basically 0.5 0.4 which comes with floating or decimals number, you know. Okay, and make it public so we can see over here underneath player script. Okay, so let's go to script one more time, that is float, and let's call this movement. Okay, movement, and close that off with semicolon. And what we will do, we have we doing it inside of update function. Why? Because update function runs every single frame, and the start function over there, as you can see, okay, that run in one time. Okay, when the game start, and that time just it gets call up, and after it update function gets called over again and again and again. Okay, so so we are doing an update function because we need to check every single frame what player is doing. So what we will do, we will set this movement, okay, movement equal to input dot get axis horizontal. So let's suppose you hold down D key, so this will give you -1. So input dot get axis horizontal will be 1, so the movement over here will be 1. And let's suppose you hold down A key, so this over here will be -1, so this movement will be -1. Else if you don't hold down any keys, so this will give you 0, so the movement over here will be 0, because we're directly setting it, we're just storing the value into this movement variable are just like container, we can put values. Okay, so control S to save your code whatever you have done, and let's move to Unity. So in underneath our player script, okay, we will able to see that movement field because we made it public. If you made it private or don't assign it anything like that, it will be marked as private. Okay, make sure you making it public, but it doesn't need to be public, you can make it a private field. Okay, so as you can see, movement by default is 0 because we haven't set any default value in our code editor. Now if I hit this play button and try to hold down A or D key, you can you're gonna able to see this movement can be -1, 1 or 0 depending upon what player is doing, basically what you holding down on your keyboard. So now if I hold down D key, as you can see, this becomes 1. Okay, if I just lift off my finger from the keyboard, so we not holding any keys, so as you can see, this becomes 0. So let's suppose if I hold down A key, as you can see, this becomes -1. So what we will do, we will add this movement to our player position. Okay, basically if I select this player game object, then go to transform component in inspector, right? Okay, and play around with this X position, as you can see the player just moving left and right. So what we will do, we will add up this movement to this position. Okay, position in the x-axis only. Firstly, what we have to do, we need to go over to transform, then we need to access this position, then access the x-axis. Okay, so let's open up our script one more time. Oh, okay, and let's go to bottom and transform. Firstly, we need to go to transform, then position, and basically what we're doing, transform dot position over here means this transform dot position. Okay, basically we attach player script to this player game object, so the transform over there referencing this transform. And let's open up our script one more time. Okay, so we will add a plus equal. Okay, plus equal new vector 3, and we know vector 3 has x-axis, y-axis and the z-axis. Okay, so what we will do, x, we will pass x, y and z and close that off with semicolon. So we only want to move the character in the x-axis. Okay, so let's replace this x with our movement. So let's replace this x with our movement, and we don't want to move the character in the y-axis. So what we will do, we will put 0f, as well we will put a 0f in the z-axis. We don't want to move in the z-axis as well. Okay, so let's put sorry, f, this should be f, also 0f in the z. Okay, but this over here movement, okay, we also need to multiply this movement with time dot delta time. Basically means I do have a computer which is too much slow. So in my case, in 1 second, this update function will run 60 frames. So let's suppose you have ultimate super PC. Okay, so in that case, in 1 second in your computer it will run 120 frame per 1 second. So as you can see, there are huge difference between frame rates. Okay, so to make it constant, what we have to do, we need to multiply this movement with time dot delta time. Okay, time dot, so let's multiply this time dot delta time, and control S to save your code. Let's move to one more time in Unity and check that out. Okay, and we also need to multiply this with some speed. Okay, so some speed you can create, you can multiply with 5, 4, it's up to you. You need to make a variable, else this will move just one by one. Okay, in the right and left, we know movement is, it can be -1, 1 or 0. So if I hit this play button and try to hold down D key on my keyboard, it will go to right, okay, by 1 unit, because the movement will be 1. So each frame it will move to the right direction. If I hold down D key, 1. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty much slow. So what we will do, we will create a speed variable and we will make it public, so we can adjust from over here underneath our player script. Okay, so let's make a player movement variable or speed variable, sorry. So let's open up our script one more time. Okay, let's open this up and let's go to top of our class. Let's assign, so make it public so you can adjust over in inspector. If you make it private, you not gonna able to see this field underneath your player script. Okay, so make sure you making it public. So I'm gonna make it public so I can adjust the speed. That will be float. Okay, and we will call it something like speed, I guess, move speed, or let's call it move speed instead. And by default you can set you can give any value, or you can leave over here and you can set that up to inspector. It's up to you, but I'm gonna give some default value to our move speed. So equal to, let's give for amount, okay, for f, and let's multiply this time movement, which is 1. Okay, so let's multiply our movement with some speed, which is our movement move speed. Okay, so let's multiply with move speed. Okay, and control S to save your code, and let's move to Unity. So it will go to left and right direction with for amount of speed which we define it. Okay, but you can adjust it over here, so that is the reason of making it public. Okay, I hope you get the idea how you can do it. Okay, So just wait for to compile. So as you can see, move speed by default we have given 4, but you can adjust depending upon how much you want. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this play button and try to hold down D key. It will go to right direction with 4 amount of speed. Okay, and you can, and if I hold down A key, it will go to left direction by 4 amount of speed. So as you can see, it's going left and right. Okay, left and right with 4 amount of speed, and you can speed up your character. Okay, so that is the reason of making that field public. Okay, move speed. So I'm gonna move. I'm gonna give something like 10. Okay, so as you can see, it's moving faster than before. Okay, so I hope you got the idea how you can move your character in 2D platformer game. Okay, in future tutorials we will cover up the advanced technique of moving our character to the left and right direction, as well for jump. Okay, when we hold down or click on space key, we should jump. We will also gonna cover that up. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something. And lastly, thanks for watching this video. Goodbye.